Folks, we are now in the midst of a total catastrophe. After spending all weekend golfing, Donald Trump this morning issued a widespread, unilateral, and completely illegal freeze on federal spending, as directed in Project 2025. Not only has this frozen food assistance, federal disaster relief, it has also frozen Medicaid in all 50 states, effectively stripping 72 million Americans from their health care, and we have to talk about it. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. It's hard to believe that Donald Trump has been president for just a little over a week. Gas and grocery prices are skyrocketing. He triggered a 12-hour trade war unnecessarily with a key Latin America trading partner, and now he has effectively stripped 72 million Americans from their health care. This is staggering stuff, and we've got a lot to cover. As Fact Post, which is the rapid response Twitter page of the Democratic Party, is posting, Trump just ordered a federal spending freeze. Here are some of the programs that could be impacted, and we actually have confirmation that some of them, like Medicaid, actually are impacted. Medicaid, school breakfast/lunch programs, Section 8 rental assistance, Title I education grants, TANF, temporary assistance for needy families, state grants for childcare, Head Start, the Supplemental Nutritional Program for Women, Infants, and Children, again, SNAP, Department of Housing and Urban Development's Community Development Block Grant Program, EPA grants for clean water infrastructure. Then, as we are learning more information, again, some of these things have been actually confirmed. Will Trump let 72 million Americans on Medicaid go without access to life-saving critical health care? Will Trump let seniors waiting on Meals on Wheels go hungry? Will Trump leave veterans without a roof over their head? Will Trump let 41 million Americans that rely on food stamps go hungry? Will Trump gut cancer research programs, rolling back years of efforts to help save the lives of millions of Americans? Will Trump leave pregnant mothers and newborns without critical nutrition assistance? Will Trump leave millions of Americans suffering from natural disasters without relief? Will Trump leave children who rely on Head Start without critical early education programs? These are questions that they sarcastically posed to Donald Trump's press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt. Senator Ron Wyden has confirmed within the past hour. His staff has confirmed reports that Medicaid portals are down in all 50 states following last night's federal funding freeze. This is a blatant attempt to rip away health insurance from millions of Americans overnight, and it will get people killed. So again, I want to be clear about this, and we're going to unpack more because this is an ongoing crisis. We are getting a lot of information. It is confirmed Medicare portals have been shut down in all 50 states. Before we go back into the developments surrounding this, I also want to point out, because I mentioned it in the intro, this was a Project 2025 directive. As a matter of fact, it was leaked that the memo used by the Office of Management and Budget that was sent out to the federal government saying, hey, we're going to freeze, we're going to pause federal spending. It turns out that the literal memo was written by Project 2025 authors, and now they are scrambling to scrub the metadata from the internet so as to not let that leak. Federal agency scrubs metadata after memo exposes authors were affiliated with controversial Project 2025. The Office of Personnel Management scrambled to scrub memos sent to federal employees, dictating policies on hiring freezes, firing, and mandatory return to office requirements after initial publication of the documents contained metadata revealing that they were authored by individuals tied to Project 2025. You remember that, right? Project 2025 being that program that Donald Trump assured us he had nothing to do with, written by far-right ex-Trump, MAGA-loyal lunatics about cementing executive authority under Donald Trump, stripping checks and balances, and using that unparalleled power to press a dangerously regressive right-wing agenda. Well, it turns out they're literally writing the freaking memos going out as part of this federal spending freeze. Donald Trump lied to your face repeatedly about Project 2025. It's not an opinion. It is a fact. We were right, and they lied to you. So I'm going to play you some clips as well from Chuck Schumer and some other prominent Democrats getting into the heart of this. Again, this is truly, truly scary stuff, which could get people killed.
President Trump plunged the country into chaos without a shred of warning. The Trump administration announced a halt to virtually all federal funds across the country. In an instant, Donald Trump has shut off billions, perhaps trillions of dollars that directly support states, cities, towns, schools, hospitals, small businesses, and most of all, American families. This is a dagger at the heart of the average American family in red states, in blue states, in cities, in suburbs, in rural areas. It is just outrageous.
And that's such a key point. It's not just blue states that have been targeted. That would be bad enough. Red states, Republican voters, Trump supporters have been screwed by this decision, and their lives have been imperiled. Chris Murphy, another Democratic senator, has discussed this and dropped a video early this morning.
So last night, Donald Trump announced that he was going to implement a shutoff to virtually all federal funding in this country. Let me tell you why that really matters. First, it matters to you and your family and your community. That means that police officers don't get federal funding. That means firefighters don't get federal funding. That means your schools that your kids go to don't get their federal funding. That means nursing homes are shut off from funding. This is an immediate crisis for our kids, for public safety, for our seniors, for our healthcare system. And why? Because Donald Trump is trying to seize power. That is what is happening. Take together everything that has happened in the first week and understand it as part of the same story. First, the immunization of political violence. If you commit violence in my name, then you will be excused and let off the hook. The firing of all of the inspector generals that sit inside these agencies to make sure that your money, taxpayer money, isn't being stolen from you. And now the decision by Donald Trump to shut down all federal money except the money he wants to spend. And guess where Donald Trump is going to decide to unfreeze federal grants? To the companies run by his billionaire friends.
Again, shamefully corrupt and dangerous stuff, because you have to remember, that's why I said it's illegal. Congress has appropriated this money. Congress is the one that is not only the predominant branch, they're the ones who have the power of the purse. And what Donald Trump is trying to do is bring back this notion of impoundment, where the executive can decide when, where, and how to spend the money, or to not spend it at all if they disagree with Congress's priorities. That has been illegal for decades for both Democratic and Republican administrations, but Trump is trying to usurp more authority. Here you have Democratic Senator Ruben Gallego, a freshman Democratic senator who just won his seat. He replaced Kyrsten Sinema. This is his short video on the topic.
Hey, so this is Senator Ruben Gallego. Look, we just got word that the president and Office of Management Budget, which doesn't really matter what that means, but sent out a memo stopping all payments to states and beneficiaries. So if you're potentially receiving a Pell Grant, if you are paying your rent with government assistance, whether you're a veteran, elderly, it could be even some of the programs that some of the cities get that are directly coming from your federal funds have now been stopped. We're asking the federal government, Trump administration, please give us more information so we could help out our localities. But again, this is just all utter chaos. There is no 3D chess that the President Trump is playing. He is just basically trying to cause chaos, confuse everybody, and at the end of the day, I think this is just designed for him to save more money to give tax cuts to all his rich buddies. Hey, so
again, incredibly dangerous and irresponsible stuff. As AOC points out, 41% of all births in the United States are covered by Medicaid. Overnight, Republicans are destroying health care for millions of Americans, and this isn't just Trump. Republican majorities in the House and the Senate are backing this illegal sabotage. They are all in on it, every one. Fact post again, Trump just returned from a long weekend at golfing at his private club. This freeze will not affect him, but will likely impact many critical programs for Americans. Again, Medicaid portals in all 50 states. As Representative Jimmy Gomez points out, Trump spent Monday golfing, then came back to cut off federal funding for disaster relief, fire departments, childcare, food assistance, and more. This unlawful and reckless move will hurt millions of American families across the country, no matter who they voted for. And he lists the programs which could be affected by this freeze: groceries for families, SNAP, WIC, TAMF, disaster aid, firefighting resources, low-cost healthcare, Medicaid. Again, that's been confirmed. School lunch programs, Meals on Wheels, pre-K, Head Start, affordable homes for seniors, global aid, PEPFAR. nonprofit funding, life-saving medical research, K-12 schools, which is Title I education, community development block grants, EPA grants for clean water, all shut down as part of this indiscriminate, unilateral, incredibly illegal freeze. The Trump chaos cuts are threatening the safety and well-being of Americans everywhere, says Ruben Gallego, from our children and elderly to police and veterans. The administration needs to provide answers now. School lunches for kids, frozen. Bulletproof vests for police, frozen. Veteran suicide hotline, frozen. Meals on Wheels, frozen. As Chris Murphy points out in response to Carolyn Levitt, again, Trump's press secretary, Carolyn Levitt gets multiple questions about whether Trump's federal aid impacts Medicaid, which provides health insurance to 72 million in the U.S. She's unsure, says she will have to check that and get back to you. Again, this has been confirmed that the portals are down in all 50 states, to which Senator Chris Murphy replies, 72 million people rely on this health insurance and you have to get back to us? Are you fucking kidding me? It's a great question. Senator Murphy again, in response to Senator Brian Schatz, multiple states locked out a Medicaid portal. This is a Trump shutdown, except this time it's unlawful. Senator Murphy says, can confirm Connecticut's Medicaid payment system has been turned off. Doctors and hospitals cannot get paid. Discussions ongoing about whether services can continue. Medicaid covers health care for millions of seniors and covers 40% of births in America. A friend of the show, Democratic Congressman Maxwell Frost from Florida, says just confirmed that the Trump administration shut down the Medicaid portal for Florida. There are over 3.8 million Floridians on Medicaid. Again, Chris Murphy, in response to this idea, well, OMB memo says funds aren't being stopped across the board, lists SNAP, student loans, Pell Grants, Head Start, rental assistance, and other programs that will not be paused. Senator Murphy responds, don't believe these people. In Connecticut, the Head Start reimbursement program is shut down. Preschools cannot pay staff and will need to start laying off staff very soon and sending little kids home. Congressman Ro Khanna of California, he's usually like overly generous with the benefit of the doubt, unfortunately, when it comes to Trump, said this, the Constitution gives Congress the power of the purse, not the White House. These funds have already been allocated. They help families afford food, heat their homes, pay for children, go to the doctor, and more. This is worse than Project 2025. So, again, in response to this idea that the pause is not across the board, Aaron Frischner points out they're trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube with this pathetic Q&A while businesses and organizations across the country prepare to lay off huge numbers of people. One of the biggest and dumbest fuck-ups I've ever seen in my entire life. And then Congressman Sean Casten, if you are a senator right now confirming any Trump nominee who will not unambiguously defend their oath to the Constitution, even if that means standing up to Trump, you are completely misunderstanding the risk of this moment. I totally agree. Folks, again, this is an ongoing crisis. People are scrambling. We've just never seen anything like this. That's why there's so much scrambling to try to get information in real time. The White House doesn't know what it's doing, seemingly, or at least parts of it. Other parts of it seem to know damn well what they're doing. By shutting off Medicaid and its health insurance to 72 million Americans to punish and squeeze Americans in order to affect its pro-wealth agenda. This is either reckless, unparalleled incompetence by the Trump administration or competent maliciousness. Either way, it demonstrates once again that the Trump administration is objectively inferior at governing to the Biden administration or any Democratic administration, quite frankly, any Republican administration as well. And they need to accrue a political consequence for this, which is why, as we continue to track this, in one voice, we should remember this is Trump's fault objectively. Trump should have never done it, and Trump should fix it ASAP. And even if he does, he should still accrue a political price for it. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.